Hello, and welcome to this Webisode edition of Talking Points. I'm Erica Love. A leak in millions of financial documents and dealings has exposed hundreds of world leaders, politicians, and global officials. Leaders from over 91 different nations took advantage of offshore businesses to profit. Many across the world are calling for more government transparency and an end to financial secrecy. Here to comment more on the situation is Talking Points analyst Dominic Chiappone. So Dominic, what current and former leaders have been implicated by these papers?
Yeah, well, first up, these Pandora Papers covered almost everybody on the global stage. We're talking 91 different countries here, 35 different both current and past world leaders. Just to list off a couple examples, in the United States, there was a powerful Guatemalan family. Over $13 million in money and assets were housed in the United States in the Great Plains. Vladimir Putin, a lot of his inner circle, especially including himself, charged with different financial misdealings, gaining mansions, all that stuff. If you take a look at your full screen right now, you can see that we have this all broken down by the numbers. 360 total world leaders, both current and former, all accounted for when it comes to these offshore bank accounts and these financial secrecy issues. 130 billionaires are also included in that, which I think is a very staggering number, particularly when you look at they're concentrated in two major places in the world, Russia and the United States. But the key figure there, $11.3 trillion. $11.3 trillion held in these offshore bank accounts. That is a very staggering number, and certainly when it comes to both global politics, global affairs, that's a very startling number indeed.
Yes, and it's difficult because individuals expect government officials and people involved in government to be transparent, to be open about everything going on in their lives. It's not just about politics. So what are the ramifications of these specific Pandora Papers?
Well, Erica, you hinted at an excellent point there, in that a lot of the officials actually charged with these offshore dealings, offshore bank account findings, all are leaders that banked on the promises of government accountability, government transparency, and end to financial secrecy. I mean, King of Jordan Abdullah, he had over $100 million in luxury dealings that ended up being uncovered with these documents, and he campaigned on the promises of government transparency, while his own people were going against him during the Arab Spring with these issues of corruption and government misuse of funds. We're seeing this all across, even with former leaders. I mean, British Prime Minister Tony Blair, who was the Prime Minister for over 10 years in the United Kingdom, he even had problems. So we're seeing how with this issue, the ramifications are at almost every government level is held accountable here. We're seeing this with dictatorships, authoritative governments, democracies, constitutional monarchies. It seems like no government here is safe from these financial secrecy issues.
Yeah, so there's no safety net at all because you have people across all different forms of government. And so, are there any links that you've seen between the governments or specific officials, or has it been like a separation of individuals, their governments, or something of that sort?
So the link, number one, is that it seems like no matter what type of regime or government is in place, this is still going to happen. This idea of government leaders misusing funds, putting these funds in offshore bank accounts, and then benefiting either themselves, their friends, their family members, or close ones that they have within their own cabinet. The other thing that stands out with this is that a lot of this money is both in very, very large amounts and is going to kind of futuristic things down the road, kind of like houses for future once they retire, going to family members for their education or for their housing down the road. We're also seeing how there's a large concentration of these offshore bank accounts in the British Virgin Islands, as well as other locations where their financial secrecy laws and their regulation are very limited when it comes to dealing with money. Currently on the screen right now, we actually have a response from the United States about the Pandora Papers. White House press secretary says that, quote, "Broadly speaking, the president is committed to bringing additional transparency to the United States and international financial systems. He wants to make sure the tax system is more fair, wants to crack down on people who are not paying their fair share." And yet that seems to be a common theme here, is that many government officials are saying we want to crack down and open up transparency with the government and with the people. But now it seems like we've lost a sense of control about regulating and holding these officials accountable.
Yes, because you never know where these papers are going to end up. Once you set something out on the internet, you lose control of it. You know which outlets have them, which countries are using them against now, other countries. There's just this lack of transparency. And honestly, the question then becomes, should governments be even thinking this far in advance about their own personal lives? Should they just be focusing on the issues at hand in their current country? Now, the Prime Minister of the Czech Republic is facing re-election today. His finances were implicated during the documents leak. How will this information benefit or hurt him during his re-election bid?
Well, easily it's going to hurt him. So to start off with the allegation himself, the Czech Republic Prime Minister purchased a $22 million kind of mega mansion. It's got like 2 pools, a full-blown view. Considering how impoverished a lot of the Czech Republic people are, especially when they're dealing with inflation, rising poverty in the region, not really a lot of economic stability, having a prime minister basically be told that he just paid for a $22 million home with their own money, that's a big accusation here. And that's definitely going to affect his election, definitely going to affect his approval rating in the country. And this is a common theme here with these officials that I want to look for personally going forwards within this next year or so. Now that all these documents have been released, where 600 journalists come together, publish over 2 million documents showing all these different world officials kind of doing these offshore bank account dealings and these financial secrecy problems, what's next for the political careers? I think that's an issue and a topic that we'll be looking forward to in the near future.
That's all the time we have for this Webisode edition of Talking Points. I'm Erica Love. Have a great day.